Welcome back, everyone. I'm back here with William Hughes, also known as Classy Xoge, and we're going to be talking about the clone utility, doing a deep dive on it about Xoge and its clones and how that compares to how other kind of ecosystems have been built. And so we're going to talk about how this meme coin, Xoge, one of my favorite meme coins, is going to be and of course, everyone that's meme that's on here is my favorite meme token, here. Um, but we're going to be talking about it today and just how cloning is going to bring a kind of utility and the different aspects to it. But thank you, William, for joining me. And let's get started here and let's just give people a visual of the ecosystem and your take on it. So we've kind of put these images together. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about them and get people caught up that maybe new Zoges?
Awesome. Okay, yeah. So, first of all, thanks a lot for having me, JT. Always happy to be on your channel and the support that you give to the ecosystem, very valued. As far as the ecosystem here, very briefly, like when you glance at this, between Zoge and Shiba off the ETH, I'm not talking about XRPL one, but this is an Ethereum Shiba. You can look at the kind of confusion grid spaghetti and meatballs that they have going on. If it's working for them, I wouldn't try to do anything like that. But over on the Zoge one, it's really straightforward. We clone over from one Zoge asset to another one for the holders. Try to keep it as simple as possible. We started in the middle, which is XRP, but we have clones that are going from, uh, say, Algorand over to another one in the future here after we're done with this XLM1. So a lot going on with this, but we keep it as simple as possible because obviously it's going to matter later so that people can kind of understand where we came from and all of that.
Gotcha. Yeah, one of the things that I appreciate is like while all this is happening, it doesn't really necessarily bring the person value for and it doesn't clone their value. And that's one of the things I
Right.
wanted to take a brief second to say what I find interesting about this. And that is so if I had I got this brief example, and this is not an exact example because the supplies in these different tokens are different. And that's something William was helping me to understand when we were planning this video. And so the value is cloned, but it's not necessarily the exact value that's going to be on the chain. In terms of like the value of X of Zoge on XRP is going to be different from the value of Zoge on Algo. But as these things clone, my understanding is if I had 500 XRP Zoge and if I had 1,000 Algo Zoge, whenever this clone happens over, and this is not to take also needs to take into account the NFTs and a few other things like snacks and so forth. But though that value that I should be getting is around the equivalent of 1,500 Stellar Zoge. Even though it's not 1,500, it will be the equivalent of that based on the supply of Stellar Zoge, correct?
Right. Yeah. For the current clone over that's going, which is the sheets wrapping up today. We've been running it for about a month. And essentially, we're cloning over Algorand, the snacks, Zoge XRPL, NFTs, liquidity for Algo Zoge, a lot of different things. And then that will go into the token quantity that people will get in XLM. And then later on, XLM is going to go over to H bar by itself, a 1-to-1, right? It's just going to go over there. In fact, I think it's going to go at a multiple of a 1,000 to bring that XML value or XLM value back up to where our deployment quantity for H bar will be. But at the same time, we'll be moving algo into quant and the XRP Zoge into there's going to be another one. So yeah, I think it's Casper at that point for that one. Yeah. It's just there's a lot going on with it, but currently right now the focus is that Stellar clone over, and maybe not so much in the US, but some places like Rome and other places Stellar is actually doing quite well. So, and it's all about the extremely fast, high value assets that are in league with the ISO 222 standards and give users that, I guess, that feather in their cap that those will be financially acceptable, like regulated bank standards for transacting wealth globally. And we really got to, I guess, wrap our head around the fact that Ripple has stated publicly a few times that XRP is not necessarily consumer-based goods product. It's not forward-facing on that side. Its focus has been and always probably will be business integration,
Mhm.
cross-border remittances, and they've told us this very bluntly. That doesn't mean that we won't make a great deal of financial gains if the token goes up and eventually we sell off to the banks, and the banks are using that for global remittances, replacing Swift and working with Swift and all of that. That sounds great. But at the end of the day, inside of your stores where you go and buy goods, you may never see an XRP as a primary payment method, but you may see an HBAR, you may see an Algorand, you may see a Stellar, because at, at at the total equation of human shopping globally and the transaction counts that are going to
Mhm.
need to be uh, able to facilitate all of this, you may need 10 of these ISO 222s with how many TPSs that they can handle transactions per second. We could be bottlenecking some of these things. So I can totally see why they've released quite a few different high grade ISO 222 token variants, because they may all be doing different roles in the new financial system that we're living in, right?
Yeah. I just want to make sure. So this 1,500 to 1,500, that's not going to, it's not going to be as cumulative for the next clones, or this is only for this clone. I'm just trying to understand. Because if with each clone, we should cumulatively gain more tokens for the next one, right?
In the senses, you're always gaining more tokens no matter what, is
Yeah.
because the tokens are fabricated and then given to you on the other side, right? Um, whether or not they're being multiplied and added together is fairly irrelevant, as far as if they're all added together, they're still divided to equal out the same supply. Because if I have 200 trillion here on the new mint and I've got 500 trillion worth of assets coming in, they just get divided so that it's even across all the chains and fair to everybody, because we don't want to exceed certain printing amounts.
Yeah.
It's either like a 200 trillion deploy on the new chain, or it is a like, if the chain like Stellar wouldn't allow us to make that many,
Yeah.
it's 200 billion, which truncates the value by 1,000. So then I just do some math breakdowns on that. But at the same time, I also have to factor in, we're bringing in three different variables
Mhm.
at minimum. So yeah, yeah,
Well, it's at the very least, it is an airdrop that's reliant on multiple sources. So there's multiple ways for someone to enter the ecosystem that may have not been on XRP, but maybe now they're on Algo and they're a new Xoge. So now you're able to get into the ecosystem and be a part of those future essentially airdrops, correct? Or those clones.
yeah, absolutely. The way that we've been doing it is progressively snowballing and adding in more and more and more, but the forms are getting extremely laborious and complicated. End
Mhm.
users, people trying to integrate with them, put in all of their wallets, all of their things, are getting overwhelmed. And that's them. I'm also obviously overworked with it, but I have a ton of errors to fix and things to go through to make sure that the assets are verified and everybody's getting the right stuff. So after this XLM clone, which is going to literally roll everything into XLM,
Okay.
XLM will go directly to HBAR. So 100% of the
Okay.
ecosystem will go into XLM, and that 100% will go into HBAR. So technically HBAR will have remnants and spirits of algo Zoges and
I see.
XRPL NFTs, etc. But at the same time that XLM goes
Mhm.
over to HBAR, XRPL will also be going over to Casper, and Algo will also be going over to Quant in their own clones, one-to-one across the board. So there's going to be three going after the one that's currently going. So there's and we're trying to get this all done. I am prior to the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit closure, because obviously that's going to cause a lot of different things to happen in crypto.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, it's extremely, extremely cool. They don't have Casper. So XRP is going to go to Casper. Stellar is going to go to H bar. And then you
Yep.
said, so it's not going to be as cumulative after this, but there's going to be one-to-one. There's going to be more one-to-one clones. Okay.
Yeah, there might be some people who have, a specific preference, like they may really decide that they love H bar. So, and maybe even not so much on the Stellar that they care about, but they want to end up at that H bar. So they're going to go through Stellar and get there. But somebody who really, really would much prefer to get to Casper may go hardcore on the XRPL side, right? And focus on that so that they can get more Casper Xoge when that's released. So multiple different channels going on, but at the end of the day, all Xoge assets are coming from Xoge assets, which truly is a novel thing, because we are we're reducing people's need to do DYOR. And in this document here, we go a bit into the efforts of DYOR, and then content creation in the crypto space exceeding human consumption allowances. Like as it stands, I got a little thing, if you slide down, it's about YouTube analytics and how more content is uploaded to YouTube, vastly more. More is uploaded to YouTube than anyone can consume, even if you sat there and watched videos all day. And this is really important, because as we enter more and more percentage adoption of crypto in the sphere of humanity, right?
Mhm.
You can't keep up with all this. You can't DYOR. So people will start leaning on their predecessor knowledge. If they're HBAR user and they know that they've got Xoge tokens, and they've went to Xoge Home and they learn about it's a cross chain, later on they get themselves some XRP or some algo, then they go, oh, there's that Xoge asset, I already know this one, I know it's a cross chain, I'm going to get me some of those memes on that one. And then later on, as encapsulation, interoperability comes into play, people will be able to like have all their Xoges in one master wallet, and they can cackle about it, and be happy. But for now, at least people will be getting these assets created, and the cross branding is self-fulfilling. If one Xoge were to moon, then potentially more Xoges could moon, because we've already created our own spin-offs on our own brands. So we've cornered the market on things that other people could do. And the truth be told, Xoge is a spinoff of Doge, right? So if Doge went and was on every chain, Xoge couldn't really effectively compete with an XRPL Doge that had the full community of Doge behind it, if Xoge were to come into that space. So ultimately, you got to think in terms of users benefiting the absolute most. Well, they're going to get the free tokens that will potentially moon or go up in value. But aside from that, they're also going to be in the verified asset of that community prior to, anybody else being able to come in and kind of grift off the name. And though it may not seem serious, there's already more fake Xoge assets created than real Xoge assets.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, no, there is. So we've got 2 fakes on Algo. We've got multiple fakes on XRPL. Like this is happening already. I don't know how many fakes there are on other chains already, but every time, like, people just report it to me. So it's happening. And if you guys that the Stellar space is extremely full of scams. I mean, was it Jenna's always showing us good content on like how dangerous that space is and how it's right it's ripe with issues. But
Yeah.
yeah, and it's going to continue more and more. So DYOR will enter a very difficult realm.
Well, I was just going to say, this is also a good point. 300 hours of YouTube uploaded every minute, as I'm showing here. Also a good reason to like my video so other people
Yeah.
can see it, because that I'm competing with a lot of people there. It's mind boggling. I didn't even know that statistic before we were planning this video. So, but one of the things I did want to mention is that, part of this clone over, Classy, is that, I got into Xoge, and what I thought was really interesting when I first got into Xoge, I was able to get Xoge essentially I was staking, but it was in my wallet. And I was just getting funds like airdrop to me like consistently. And that was my understanding form of staking that you kind of innovated. And then I saw what is it? On not on chain whales, StakeX came out and has tried to do that. They kind of automated that from my understanding. And then they had Leo Kings come out as well that is they also have a staking platform now, but you were doing that ahead of time before those two even existed. And now you're doing these clone overs, which is my understanding that you kind of started the same trend. Granted, I'm not sure if someone's going to automate this process, but it's a whole
Yeah.
nother
Yeah.
conversation.
So on Algo, we still have it. On XRPL, we still have it. Stellar hasn't launched yet, but I imagine we'll be having that as well. And it is soft staking. I mean, there's no lockups. It's airdrops that are regularly scheduled to occur to give people rewards on what they hold and a percentage. The whole term staking and the technicalities of it is
Yeah, it's true.
it's facilitating work for the blockchain. It's used in validating essentially on
Mhm.
POS networks. However, for us and for Xoge, at the end of the day, here's what people really want. They want more from their holdings, right? So
Yeah,
that's really what's important. And that's
and
what we're
rewarded for holding.
correct. Yeah, absolutely. And those two really important core principles is what we felt was just enough. So we started doing it with airdrops on XRPL, and then people came along who had more sophisticated tools and made full platforms out of it. And now we're even working with StakeX, with Xoge, and Snacks. But Algo Faucet has us covered on Algorand. And overall, yeah, we got into that, and now we've got into clone overing, and we'll get into some of the principles of why clone overing is so awesome. But some of the projects to announce or begin doing this after Xoge started would be Gizwa, XWM, Taco wanting to move from Algo to XRP, which is wild. Taco would have never known, more than likely, about XRP if Xoge didn't go over there. So this is like a big eye opener for everybody, because Taco wasn't looking at XRP. We met Taco, we made friends essentially in Algo. Algo and Xoge and Taco were doing staking and stuff like that together. Algo Faucet drops, and bam. I hope that they come to XRPL. I think that's awesome. And Denari's just recently released on Algo. And I'm almost certain that in time, this is going to go on more and more, because, the footwork, and yeah, it's good for a lot of holders.
Gotcha. Well, let's get into the use case for utility here. As I've kind of gone on. I'm excited about in terms of the utility that yes, the holders are rewarded. We get more tokens on different chains if we fill out a form. It's really cool. Um, and it seems like you're simplifying things, so it's more of a one-to-one clone than a cumulative process that might be very cumbersome for you to try to track. So it's good to hear that you've recognized that in your that those changes are coming. That's not, even while I was playing in this video, that didn't really sink in, I feel like, and now that has it's really cool.
Yeah, it got to it's reaching that upper limit. So we're going to do a little bit of a different thing, but at the same time, we also need to do that for this. It's less on the side of the work, is more on the side of speed and efficiency.
Yeah,
We know that based on new banking documents, they want to go to 5% holds in crypto and stuff like that. Supposedly, they're going to be bringing in like 9 trillion in capital to the crypto market.
be very
It,
happy when I see that.
Correct. And if that occurs, you got to think in terms of like we're 1 trillion-ish right now. They're going to like 9x the market. The money's got to go somewhere. I think, based on what I've seen, banks coming in like bank things, bank related crypto. Bank related crypto isn't Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's ISO 222, the verified assets
Mhm.
that work with banking infrastructure. We also know that Swift has said that if people want to use the high value payment rails by November, they have to have ISO 222 tokenized assets implemented on their banking infrastructure in their main banking software. So Yeah, it's coming. It's a thing, and I'm super stoked about it. But I want to get the Xoge community seeded in all of these high value assets, or
Yeah.
at least what I perceive to be future high value assets. We don't want to miss any of the rockets, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what we're
Right.
doing here. Um, let's see here. Oh, these are into the benefits of one of the things I'd like to touch on with this is that the market size and reach. We know that for a long time, XRP has been kind of silenced and kind of muted in the space, and also argued about a lot by people. You know, there's a lot of people out there who aren't happy with XRP because they dared to work with banks and they dared to work with government. But at the end of the day, somebody somewhere has to. If
Hmm.
you know, but at the same time, we know that there's, aside from the FUD that has happened and the court case that has happened, a lot of people in the XRP space have been blacklisted to where their tweets don't have much reach magically. It's a small community, XRPL is. We see the same names, those of us who've been here for over a year. It's like all the same people all the time. It never seems to grow. Doesn't matter how. It's like we're invisible here. And
My
when
subscriber count also matches that, so I understand.
right.
Speaking of, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. But
Definitely,
yeah.
guys. And like I said previously, Taco Coin coming to Algo is a really good example of us increasing and creating reach in our broadcasting capability. By the time that we hit H bar, and H bar is already servicing like massive amounts of people, massive, massive community behind H bar already. Um, we're going to be shining bigger and bigger lights on all of the ecosystems that we're in and bringing people into these spaces a lot more effectively than just sitting here and kind of being shadow banned with a super small community, right? So it's access reach to the market.
Yeah. So I want to, on this, I think it's really cool because I'm just going to share the screen again. So I don't know of another crypto off the top of my head that, like, Flare, for example, is supposed to connect everything to each other. Like, that's kind of its deal. But you are saying even if it doesn't connect everything, there will be a Zoge community on each one of these chains, and there will be a Zoge token on each one of these chains, so that there's not scammers that take your good name and go and try to profit on another chain. You're doing that yourself based on these particular chains, right?
Um, we're hoping like the absolute truth of it is, well, this image here is a bit outdated. It's missing a couple, but that's okay.
We know it's missing H bar. I'm not sure what else it's missing.
H bar and Casper and Quant, but
Okay, well, I'm gonna
it
do that.
that's yeah, it doesn't matter too much. But the idea is that if the token is creatable there and the value is
I'll just say it while we're here. Hey, go live, do the
um,
thing,
do it
right?
live, right? Yeah. Um, the thing of
Reveal
it,
on JTXRP. It's all news here, people.
right? If it's possible to deploy on them, then we will, and if it's not, then we'll just scrub it out of the set. No harm done, but an attempt will be made for the higher value assets that have skill and talent. Kind of a yeah.
Oh,
Center top, yeah.
yeah, there we go. Cool. It's official.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
gonna
make a
use
better
that
one after
one.
the video.
No, no, I'm screenshotting and putting it on
No,
Twitter like
I'll
that.
make a better one. Don't do it. Um, but yeah, we can but the thing, it also provides some layer of security, right? Because you know that way you're going to the same community, the same creator who created the token created it on all of these different places. And
Yeah,
so
and between that and spinoff, I'll touch on that in a second, but that
yeah.
part is kind of important because it happens so much. People create the same asset either on the same chain or on another chain and try to bring in people and all of that. But if we have it and we have the trust line links and the asset IDs and we have all of the things that people would need to add the real asset that they know hasn't rugged, hasn't done the community bad and all of that, then they at least know that when they do get some of that, that it's not one of the bad ones.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
It's not something that's not like a dust attack, right? Where so you get some random crypto sent to you, and then all of a sudden, when you try to do something with it, They take everything. It's like this is the actually legit. I don't have to worry about it. It's Xoge. It's on this particular one. It's spelled right. I can go verify the trust line and make sure that it's the right thing.
Right. And then
So,
on the other side of that, where you have the spinoffs, ETH is a great thing, but 2 points on ETH. The first one, real quick, would be the reason that Ethereum has a bit of trouble with their memes and getting mass adoption is the payment itself, the transaction fees and all of that. And they haven't gotten better. When they switch to POS, they're still running around the same transaction fees. It's really expensive. If you're trying to even game the market a little bit, the less that you have in holdings, the greater the percentage has to move for you to exceed the cost of the transaction and create value. So if you got to always multiply transactions by 2 for starters. So you buy it, but you will eventually have to sell it. That's 2 transactions. It's not one. So if fees are at $15, now it's at $30. If fees are at 60, it's now at 120. And when you're trading in memes and you're trading under $1,000 and the thing only moved 5%, you doing 2 transactions cost you money to try
yeah.
to gamify, right? Well, a 5% move in a traditional stock is hell yeah, right? You can be happy if that happens in a
Hmm.
year. Well, now, if that happens and it's over the course of a year and you trade it, you're at a loss still. So it won't, more than likely, it's not going to get better for Ethereum as far as the way that works out. But with this, with the success of Doge and Shiba Inu and things like that, obviously you have spinoffs, and those spinoffs create their own market caps under their own managers, and those managers are, some are good and some are bad, right?
Yeah.
So
And you
if
don't know which one's which.
absolutely, so you got the Floki here, and you got Doge Elon Mars, and you got 1,000 spinoffs, and even Zoge is a spinoff of Doge, as I've said.
Yeah.
But with Zoge, the over the year that we've been operating, we've proven that we're not one of the scum lizards out in the world. We're trying to do good things for our holders, our community. And with this, when people go and diversified wallets is something everybody's doing now, right? I mean, a lot of people have holdings on a lot of these chains. When I announce that we're going somewhere, there's always part of the Zoge community that gets super excited because they're big fans of Quant or Casper or HBAR or Algo.
Mhm.
And we also learn a tremendous amount. A lot of us didn't know just how badass Algo was. When we arrived there, everything was like, dang, this is a mansion. They got multi-send, they've got nice infrastructure, the people are super cool. Everything was nice over there. So we were really happy, and we learned that it does have some capabilities that we don't have in XRPL, but we also know that XRPL has some capabilities that Algo doesn't have. So it's one of those things where I think as we travel more, our not only our user base becomes more powerful and wiser, they financially become better off because they hold more Zoge asset, and we don't know what that will be in a year to 5, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, it's all for them. At the end of the day, it's everybody's.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted to touch on here is that the one is like these, not clones, these spin-offs like Floki Inu over here is community driven. And that's, they don't take permission from Shiba Inu, and it's not Shiba Inu's idea to create Floki, but Floki essentially drives community, I would believe to some degree, to Shiba Inu, because of its creation, and it has its own community. And just as Zoge might in some way give some credence to Doge or Shiba Inu, because just by being a meme token. But these are created by yourself. And that gives you I was gonna say they're all decentralized networks, but this gives you more trust in the community. But it also is like, how do you feel about people not going off and creating other Zoge knockoffs? Like, because one kind of speaks to the community and they're passionate about doing something, but then going and taking and doing their own thing. Zoge is really interesting in the fact that like a lot of Zoges really stick together. They don't necessarily go out and make their own things as much as I see in other crypto communities. I could be wrong, but I'm not seeing too much of that in compared to like the rest of the crypto community.
Right. And there's a few reasons for that. I mean, the people who are in Zoge, they actually really like it because they believe in the project, they believe in what we're doing, but they do get treated well. They get their percentage yield coming back to them. They get their clone overs,
Mm.
and they have the ability to do content creation. So essentially, I'm doing the token deployments, but at the end of the day, you want A, the smallest team, B, the team that will work for free, C, the team that you can trust. All of these equate to no suits and ties, just a
Mm-hmm.
simple guy, somebody who's going to be trustworthy, reliable, and get it done, those kinds of things. That's the cheapest, most efficient, safest, best path forward for a token deployer, right?
Okay.
It's aside from that, anything more that you get, any more fancy that you get, or anything more regulated or super serious, it all equates to value loss and expenses and cost on the holders and people wanting profits and things like that. So you need just a core decent person to deal with that part of it. But as far as how Zoge ecosystem holders gain, obviously between faith in the token and trading it and speculating, everybody's going to do their thing. They're going to win, they're going to lose. And I don't have any control over that at the end of the day. That's the market and them trading. But where users also can benefit is the only part where we released official project-based NFTs for Xoge is on the XRPL. And that's more like content curation and initial creation so that people get an idea of what Xoge looks like and what Xoge is all about. And then from there on all of the cross chains, all of the content creation and all of that space for profit, like that branding,
Mm-hmm.
that capability to not only create and deploy all your own NFTs, but to have them recognized by the community as official as they're going to be. Um, that's all on the community. And one of the biggest NFT spaces as far as growth in the last 6 months, period, bar none, across the world would be an H bar,
Oh, really?
right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And H bar's NFT space is growing at an alarming rate. Their user base is also growing
It
alarmingly
switches so
fast.
fast
So
from like one
yeah.
crypto to another, and then like once XLX 20D hits, XRP is probably going to be huge with NFTs. So it's like they're all just popping at different times. So it's like,
Right. And the idea is for our community to be able to capitalize on this more. And that's why with the average users being super capable of creating and deploying NFTs through
mhm,
platforms, it's a whole different sphere than tokens, because once tokens are like a token is minted, if the management of that token from the core team is not good,
mhm.
that token in 1 second goes to no value. Whereas with NFTs, people create this art, other people buy it, it builds value over time. Sometimes they go up in value. Other times when they go down, it's really really hard to like rug an NFT set or things like that.
Completely. Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't really happen. It's a little bit safer. A lot more people feel safe in it. Even if the value goes down, a lot of users still go, I don't care. I really like the image that I bought and I'm happy with it. Don't care what the value is. So you do get a product on that side. And since it's a more safer experience and realm, it's great for branding and great for users to get money out of and increase the content of these ecosystems and these clone overs through contributing their art and effort and then seeing the rewards for that. So you kind of can imagine that if you could slap a Nike logo on anything that you wanted, and people were doing that all the time as an example, Nike would be the beneficiary, though that they'll try to come after people for copywriting. At the end of the day, um, I'm not wearing people's brands on my shirts because I'm not gonna buy a shirt from your company and pay you $20 to promote your brand, even if you and some other people agree that it's cool. It's just not a thing that I'm willing to do. I don't think that the brand of Xoge would benefit from the project itself trying to harvest all the money from it and coming after. Ridiculous. Nope, exactly like Tesla. Here's the patents, here's the technology, make something better.
Hmm.
And then you can benefit from it too. So here's some great resources. That's what we do with this, and I'm absolutely positive that that is the future of how people will handle this kind of stuff, because you ain't fighting a bunch of random people on the internet from all different countries in the world with copyright strikes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Good luck.
That's, yeah, preposterous.
Um, so we talked about a little. Is there anything else in this that we know the community is going to grow because of all these different the clones are going to build, their own community and relationships, and that's going to, all build one happy Zoge clone family, for lack
Yep.
of a better term. Um, and but what else? I'm trying to figure out if because we've jumped around here, and that's partially my fault, but I wanted to make sure we've covered everything.
That's all me. I claim ownership of that. I'm
Oh,
off the rails and just skimming a lot of it here.
that's okay. Um, wanted to make sure we got all this down for you. You made this comment down here about
Right.
and I wanted to come
So
to it. I'm not sure where this falls in, but I like that quote.
right. So it's a great quote. It's a famous quote. Many people have heard it, but essentially, uh, the viewers should be able to see it. They can read it. I'm not going to equate crypto into something as serious as this, but I just want people to know that as crypto expands and people have vested interest, financial ties into different ecosystems, they become fairly jaded, short-sighted, and narrow-minded towards the capabilities of what's out there. And
Hmm.
it's a fairly unfortunate thing, but we all know that crypto cultism is occurring. Clone overs are the antithesis. We dissolve the dissolution of this problem in crypto. And ultimately, why it's such a big problem is it just creates a bunch of infighting. Charles from ADA managed to disenfranchise a good third of his XRP ADA holders
Wow.
because he talked shit about people in XRP fabricating case stuff, but it's not true. He was lying. He's either dumb or dubious. And by dumb, I just mean that he doesn't know. He's ignorant
Yeah.
to it. He hasn't done his research, in which case he shouldn't have said that. And if he's dubious, it means that he's questionable. And if he's questionable, that means he's in on trying to FUD XRP. So,
Well, I think it goes back to, again, this point here about there's so much content and there's like trying to absorb. I'm
mhm,
sure you can attest to this because you're the ones
yeah,
making these clones, right? Trying
yep,
to absorb so much of the information from these different, I mean, you almost end up having a bias just because that is the information you have at the time and you haven't learned anything else. So it's so easy to be ignorant in this space
right.
about the advantages to these different technologies, especially when it's a rapidly evolving technology space. So,
Absolutely, and that is a very fundamental point as well with the clone overs, is that we're educating at the same time and we're learning at the same time. But back onto that quote,
okay.
this is breaking down a lot of the barriers that will exist in crypto cultism and making people more allied together between these space. We now have friends in XRP and Algo, and before long it'll be in Stellar, and before long it'll be more. And when other chains are cheering when one is getting attacked, it won't be the Zoge army doing that kind of stuff. We're fighting against that. We understand what it feels like to have existed and lived um, in this space, right, with these problems.
Yeah.
So here in the future, crypto, I think it really does need to drop the cultism and prepare for much bigger waves of larger enemies, will so to say, where you have entire nations, governments
Yeah.
working in concert to promote their CBDCs over your cryptos and regulate your cryptos out of existence, even though you have assets tied up in them. I think crypto needs to heed that call, and we're making it. So I am definitely making that. That's part of the clone overs, is that, guys, we need to unite on the fact that um, we shouldn't allow our infighting to prevent us from being mindful
Hmm.
and able to defend ourselves against governmental overreach into, shutting down our assets and things like that.
I just kind of changed it here to, XRP holders, because this quote, I mean, like, again, we don't want to go anywhere near making it look like this subject is like, the World War II and that stuff. But, just
Right.
the idea that's similar is like we're not concerned until we're the ones affected is kind of the thought you're going behind with this, right?
Correct. Yeah, and at the end of the day, we now have ETH being eyed by the SEC because their validators are on U.S. soil primarily, even though they've transitioned over to POS, so they're a staking powered network. The
Yeah, but
United
there's arguments
States.
that they're more centralized now, is what I've heard.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So the SEC has already said literally that they're eyeing Ethereum, and Ethereum's like, what the hell?
Right.
And,
Thought we had
and
this down.
right, I thought we were the chosen lucky ones here, and it's like, no, you don't get it. You don't get it. Ripple has said it many times. The XRP community has said it many times. We're fighting for you, Algo. We're fighting for you, Ethereum. And at the end of the day, you even got legislators. I just called one out on Twitter yesterday, trying to say that everything except for Bitcoin is a security. Well, screw you, lady. Picking winners and losers isn't your job. It's ensuring that there's a fair and open
Plainfield.
market.
Yeah.
Right. That is it. Aside from that, I don't want to hear you try to say something is this, that, well, because it came out first. You're stupid. That's like saying only the first cars were not securities. So everybody
I
who
mean, a
made,
wheel is or a tire is a security when the caveman made a wheel. Like,
right. It's like, dude, get out of here with that. So I think crypto as a whole, we need to drop the cultism. We need to do a little bit of cooperation. Is it going to be hard to swallow the pride a notch and actually say, yeah, I don't like what you're doing to Ethereum, SEC? Yeah, because a lot of these people talk smack, but I'd still do it because the SEC is the actual encroaching enemy army,
yep.
and the crypto cultism is our weakness or our blinder. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell.
Well, I think that, like, I mean, people get into crypto, and I think it primarily is like it's been a hard. Let's call it what it is. Like, things have gotten, I think, progressively worse worldwide in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And we've between the thing that's happened over the last 2 years that YouTube would totally get on to me for saying, so I'm not going to do that, but you know what I'm talking about. And just political stuff and X, Y, and Z. Like, people are looking for opportunities outside of the 9 to 5 to get into retirement, because the normal routes are just not normal routes anymore. They're not going to get us to where we want to go, and that carrot is looking awfully small the closer we get to it. As anyone who's, I'm 36, and nowhere near the retirement that I would like. And we don't give financial advice here, but one of the reasons I got into crypto was like, hey, who can beat the gains? And like, if I in 2017 would have stuck around with some of my holdings, like, I would have been much better off. And I was like, man, maybe I should just had a little bit more patience, and maybe I should have, because at the time I was trading Bitcoin, I thought if this is the tech, this is garbage. So
Right.
I was like, this is not going anywhere. And then my cousin, God bless him and shout out to him, got me into XRP, and I was like, wait, this could actually work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
and then of course, I've XLM and XDC and some others that have low transaction fees, that as I, in my off time, am interested in process improvement and technology, and again using that to improve our lives. This made more sense to me. And so there's other, as long as like I can see real world change coming from the asset, and apart from meme assets, there's I was also involved in I made some decent gains on Shiba Inu, and like, what was it, 2021, I don't even remember, like when it took off a little bit, managed to catch it on the downside. Should have sold earlier, but Um, yeah, so that's why I'm like, you know what, that opened my eyes to Zoge though, and the power that it could have, especially as you're doing things quite differently. And I would say better, but that's just my thoughts.
We're definitely trying, and the beauty of it is we get to learn from the mistakes of our predecessors. So
Hmm.
we're obviously faster and cheaper than Doge, faster and cheaper than Shiba Inu, deployed as a token like Shiba Inu, but on a way better blockchain. And then on top of that, offering better incentives to our holders, and keeping with an even next gen better infrastructure as far as technology goals and future planning with the ISO 20022 based tokens that we're focusing for. And the transaction fee and the supply is a really critical element. Now, I tweeted this out yesterday. I was like, the difference between, like somebody who's really good at something and somebody who's like the best in the world is just a couple defining points. And in this case, those couple defining points equate to maybe 1 or 2% or less. You ever see a really close race between the best, and they're pretty close. It's like a neck and neck race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you get the or a fight between two great fighters and it's really close and both of them are heavily wounded, but one manages to obviously win, outdoes the other one by just a smidgen.
Or a really
In
nice uppercut or
Yeah,
kick.
yeah, yeah. The point being that our supply is nearly perfect for mass adoption, and the fact that we just don't have the transaction fees and we maintain aiming at clone overs into spaces that have incredibly low transaction fees gives us an access to a larger world user base that Ethereum simply won't have. It's
Mhm.
just not going to happen. Like, there are places where $15 is a tremendous amount of money,
Yep.
and at that transaction fee cost, it's ludicrous. It's absurd. So you really need a extremely efficient transaction. So yeah.
Yep. Well, is anything else you want to cover from I actually I wanted you to elaborate on this one. It says by placing uh you have community driven brand domination. Maybe you touched on it, but you said by placing the community at the front and a fair, reasonable expectation to profit from one's own effort.
Yeah.
So our brand will expand in time, fully filling every chain.
Right.
You said every chain here. The chains you've chosen, I just want to specify there
Correct.
is
Yeah.
every chain. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
then from one's own effort is like from spreading the zoginess. Like, what do you mean by like
right.
one's own
So
effort?
that's actually a multi-tiered statement. So we look
Okay.
at that from the token side as it's DeFi, it's decentralized finance. Once the tokens are issued, they're created, they're in a wallet. Once they go out to everybody, everybody owns a piece of the pie. That
Hmm.
pie's value is the determination of all of the holders to say what it's worth in concert. They
Hmm.
come together. There's a mental mesh. It's inside the blockchain. It basically
Buy and
says,
sell orders.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So if you want it for a certain amount and I won't sell it to you for months, as an example, eventually you might raise your price so that you can get some. Well, this back and forth between people, one's own effort is there, right? You and somebody else is trading, and you guys are truly affecting the values of what you hold. But that, as far as the second tier of that, and what I meant is that you have the content creation capability on these chains to create Xoge NFTs and profit from your work solely and fully, right? So that's all up to you. You can do that. If you want to make some algo Xoge NFTs, put them out there and promote them, sell them, and make algo, right on. But at the same time, you're building the brand for Xoge, which empowers our ecosystem, and your voice increases the reach and new people who would see it. So it's all an avenue of self-fulfillment.
So if I create a series of Zoge NFTs and I message you and I'm like, hey, I'm creating Zoge NFTs, will you make them official by shouting them out or X, Y, and Z? That's gonna be okay to do because if I'm creating something without your knowledge and you're the creator of Zoge,
Yeah. Yeah. So the way that typically works is people tell me, hey, I'm going to make a line, and I'm like, cool. You're your own boss, and if you want to do it with Xoge, awesome. So then they'll either make up some stuff and show it to me, or they'll make it and post it and show it to me. And then as long as that content is not breaching basic human decency and rights, which
Mm-hmm.
means no Zojas chopping up things and being, no really dirty things, no,
Yeah.
obviously
Keep it PG,
stupid.
people.
Correct. Yeah. As long as it's along those lines, the images look like somebody tried. No stick figure Zoge. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. An actual, like, okay, even if the art isn't superb, I'm
A
still going to
good
be like,
effort.
correct. Yeah. And boom, I'm like, heck yeah, right on. Let's tweet this out, get a retweet going. People will talk about it. Those who like it in the community, like Mark Zoge and Oscar, they created Algo NFTs. They sold uh, between them over 1,000, maybe 2,000.
Wow.
Yeah, they're super serious, and the NFTs are amazing. They're all 3D. They're super nice, and Mark's got custom ones. He's even got one where I've got Monk up here and all of it. So yeah, and those all got integrated with the Algorand faucet. So yeah, and on this note, the website, guys, it definitely needs an update. I've been planning that for a month after we get through with this XLM clone, because I need to go in there, add in all of the chains, because obviously we've made massive strides, and one guy not taking a paycheck, doing the best I can. So that is outdated, but it has content, you know, on there still. It's
Yep.
mostly XRPL focused though.
Just want to show it real quick though. And I bring this up because you mentioned having a place where we could see how all of the Zoges are doing on the site, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like the end goal, is to be able to see Zoge on each blockchain, see the charts, see how they're doing. And this also brings up an opportunity. Arbitrage, of course, is between, like, selling the same item at a different place and getting a different price for it one place or another. But now you have the opportunity to arbitrage the token that is the same token by the same project on different chains as well, which I
Yep.
think is an opportunity, and it's also interesting. Can you elaborate on how that might work, or the future of that? Or is this something you've mulled over a bit?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's no rules on Zoge trading, and there couldn't be, and there's no way I could control it or enforce it. Everybody is free to trade and do with as they see fit with their assets that they hold, however they got them, whether they were free airdrops or clone overs, or they got them at a really good market dip.
Hmm.
Um, Arbitraging Zoges against Zoges across multiple chains, I imagine that's going to happen so often people don't even know that they're arbitraging.
You
Like
can
they're
see
going to,
stabilization in price across chains because of that if it happens. So,
oh yeah, that's part of the intent, is that I said that they would equalize more than
oh, really?
likely, or come
Okay.
really close as far as USD based values, even throughout the conversions of everything. Because when one pumps, some may sell there. When one dumps, they may go and scoop those other ones. They may play musical Zoge shares and balance us all out like cups of water. So yeah,
Gotcha.
totally a real thing, but a lot of people won't utilize the terminology that you are the arbitraging.
Yeah.
They're just like,
So,
oh yeah, I'm trading, I'm doing stuff.
yeah.
So
Well,
cool.
that's true, but I mean, that's what we want to happen essentially, to a degree, I think, because again, that stabilization, and then when one takes off, there's the possibility that they all will to a degree. But what am I trying to say here?
I like.
The ability, real quick, of, because you're choosing all of these chains have a low transaction cost and
Mhm.
are ISO 2022 uh base chains. So the ability to get in and out of these tokens and to trade and to actually do that kind of trading is doable on here. Will there be a place, an exchange, to go from Zoge to Zoge to Zoge to Zoge though?
Yeah, so whenever I started this Algorand clone over, Swift was you know telling me this is not the Swift of international exchanges
Yeah.
of money, but the Swift exchange. Yeah, they said that they would do it. We were going to be all set up. They were going to build our first bridge. Everything was going to be awesome. Um, and then they're like, oh yeah, we don't even know how to do that, after they already agreed to do it and said that they could do it, and months went by. So the long and short of that is, I'm very certain that I'm not too concerned with bridging, because we have a ton of ways that that can occur. That can occur through multi-listing on exchanges. That can occur through interoperability. That's more than likely going to be multi-asset capable. So there's so many different ways that the Xoges will reach the Xoges. It's going to be an exciting day when that occurs, and I would love to see it happen on a full deploy, full release, full floodgates open kind of way.
Mhm.
So we're going to, obviously in the next 3 years, so much is going to happen with crypto. It's going to be phenomenal. And I'm excited to see which one of the chains truly makes something that isn't just necessarily wrappable, but existable inside of non-native wallets.
Uh,
I don't necessarily like the way that wrapping works, because,
Even with Flare.
well, we'll see. We'll see
Yeah,
how
right.
that
We're all waiting to see that. It's been 2 years, so yeah. No
we'll
offense, Flare. And
we
Hugo,
want
love
we
you, but
want
interested to see.
yeah, yeah, we want to see things that are awesome, and I don't want to but I wasn't ever a fan. Like when they said you can wrap an XRP in an ETH, I was like, cool. So you're putting well, I'm just not, I'm going to say I'm not a fan of that. I
Okay.
don't want ETH on my XRP. Sorry.
Yeah, it's at least like you said, the tribalism though, maybe it will help with mitigating some of that as they're all becoming more interoperable. And again, like why not try to go and create some kind of interoperable route like Flare? I know you're one man, so that's kind of answers itself to a degree, but versus the clones. Because like a lot of people are trying to build interoperability versus the the idea of cloning something other. It seems like the focus is that interoperable part. So
Well, yeah, and that's a great question, because you have teams of doctorates, PhDs, people who are massive skill sets in blockchain in concert, large amounts of them all working together to make these things. And it's not like they're pumping them out super easy or in good quantity or
right.
actually working. And then we figure, yeah, you're one guy, but aside from that, nobody's doing what I started. I started it. Now there's people who are starting to do that, which I suspect will become more and more and more. But you get first movers advantage, and there's some benefits to being in the other spaces. And even with interoperability or the other technologies that add utility, um, we just gain more from it. We don't lose anything. But having multiple Xoges out there, eventually, with the way that things start to tie together, may make Xoge one of the strongest assets, period, as far as the capability of transacting wealth from a known asset that you hold or something that you truly enjoy, um, around the ecosystem, just because of how many chains Xoge exist in. So we'll see how it all works out, but at least at the end of the day, we're not, like, I wouldn't want to be trying to take on such an important, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, I know
I'm
what you mean.
certainly not capable of it. And I've seen those who are trying, um, how that's working out with all of their extremely more capable skill sets. But that doesn't, that's the kind of funny thing. It's not always about who's most capable, but just who in some cases becomes most lucky and
There's
comes up.
market timing and all these different things as well. There is an element of luck to it to some degree, besides the
Yeah,
tech. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And you think in terms of what's been successful. Pet rocks have been successful. Okay, Snuggies have been successful, right? Like somebody really thought to put armholes in a damn blanket and made millions of dollars, right?
It's true.
Okay, so
I had a Furby at one point in my lifetime, so I understand. And that thing went in the garbage so quick because it was super scary. But all you need is like a Furby waking you up at like 10 o'clock at night. He me Furby. But
right, like if we think about what is a Snuggie exactly, it's quite literally a robe spun around backwards
yeah,
with the opening in the back instead, and millions of, so it isn't necessarily like I I guess it's hard to quantify, but aside from all of the other reasons that the clone overs are good, we just don't know what the future holds. And that's why I say by doing something different, paving our own path,
yeah.
we get two things. We get first movers advantage, but we also get the opportunity to be the one who did the right thing, as opposed to not having that opportunity at all. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. And in this case, there really isn't anything to lose. Therefore, the only option would be to venture something for that potential gain.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this because you may be the first one on the XRPL to start doing these cloning. Uh, did someone else clone a token that inspired you to do this? Or is there anyone you want to give a shout out to that like inspired you to go this route? Uh, or is there another? I don't know of another token that did a clone. Like that's not I'm not aware of that. And no one else
Right.
has tried it to my understanding. Did someone do this that inspired you or
No, as far as like the way that we do it on the blockchain technology that we have, no, I've never seen anybody. The closest thing that is equatable is like really early days forks of mined chains where like Bitcoin was used as a base code engine, and a
okay.
snapshot at a certain point in the road was taken, and then they made a fork for like Bitcoin Cash
Yeah.
and then built their own ecosystem off of that. But those are two competing assets not created by the same people, with no real desire to anything other than you try to. So what Bitcoin Cash did essentially was try to take as many people as they could from Bitcoin by offering them a bunch in that ecosystem. And
Yeah.
it was a whole other team, right?
Yeah.
And over time, Bitcoin Cash gained some value. It never got obviously as powerful as big as Bitcoin, but there are some people who did use Bitcoin Cash and still do. So the main difference is that with what we're doing is it's all us. It's all the Xoges, and we're gonna have Algo Maxi Xoges and HBAR Maxi Xoges, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna
So
be
we can
fantastic.
end off on that image here of like all the different Zoges. Um, well, cool. Is there anything else you wanted to shout out to the community or any other announcements before we close off?
Um, well, just that I am working with some other projects to help them do these things as well, and always happy to be working on this stuff for and with, because a lot of the people in the community help with things for and with the community, and people like you with Block and all the different things that we're involved in. So yeah, it's always an adventure, and though our first year in the ecosystem has been fairly rough, it isn't I don't blame the tokens, and I don't blame XRP Ripple. I think honestly that the shenanigans from government have tremendously hurt and done damage, and I'm glad that there's a class action lawsuit against the SEC. The market value that they've held back and taken from XRP through the ability to list, and the scared people in suits and businesses and things like that. Just I don't even think that you could slap a number on it. It's been so bad. So terrible actions from the SEC still going on. This is like you see somebody like repeatedly hitting a kid and you're screaming at them the whole time to stop, and they won't, and they just keep doing it, and you can see that damage is occurring and they won't stop doing it. And you got a bunch of other people who are legal analysts, and they're screaming, this is wrong, this is clearly wrong. And
Mhm. And ethics
other
people with ethics violations, yeah.
right. And it's like at some point this has got to stop. And I'm glad that there are people like Deaton out there, and many other Fred,
Yeah.
many other good people who are pointing this out. But the XRP community itself is literally a community of the toughest bastards, the biggest pit bulls. They've got the grit. They've withstood the abuse, and for that, withstanding that abuse, I absolutely do feel like they should get their just rewards. In 2017, I spent a large chunk of my personal holdings, and then I ate the cliff dive off and landed face first at the bottom of the chart.
Oh,
And I obviously never sold my XRP. I sat on it and I said, no, I bought XRP because it was good, and it has been good, and it's gotten better. But uh, imagine if they never did that, it wouldn't even be a question. XRP would be number 1 on the chart. The damage there, it's
yeah. That's proven pretty much that like
yeah,
we were already overtaking ETH, and we were on our way to possibly overtaking Bitcoin at some point. Like,
right. And the only token in the world to ever flip Ethereum has been Ripple, XRP.
yeah, not Ripple, XRP. Yeah, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
gotcha.
And well, originally they called it Ripple.
Yeah, we were all there's a
Yeah,
lot of people plus that's just it's the reason I say that is I know
I
it's just
know.
it's a thing nowadays, like because of the case. It's just
Hmm.
want to make sure that I'm clear to the viewers that like yes we know.
Yeah, and what pisses me off is this isn't even a fraud case. This is a slap on the wrist style of case. They're not even going after Ripple, the company, for any allegation of fraud, which is the SEC's top priority. This is a mundane small case, but it has the stardom level. Um, the SEC should have wrapped this up much quicker, and they shouldn't be trying to regulate the entire space through abusing one cryptocurrency. I certainly hope that the Deaton is able to uh, do the holders justice in the class
Mhm.
action. And I'm going to say it flat out to everybody. I'm in that. I am 100% signed up. They have
I think I am too. So
absolutely done damage to not only XRP, but my investment and the capabilities to mature with that, and use those funds. My funds were trapped. During that time, I went through a lot of things in my life that those funds could have helped me tremendously. Even to just have my own funds back would have been fantastic.
right.
But it was their actions to attack the investors.
Yeah, who they're supposed to protect. But
Yep.
we won't get into the case. That's a separate video.
Yeah.
But William, I thank you so much for joining us today and sharing us the awesomeness about the clones. And congrats on, I guess, however the outcome is. Congrats on being the first that we know of to do this. And thank you for your help from the community who you're helping other assets to do the same. So appreciate that. I'm JTXRP. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say absolutely. Thanks a ton for having me. And guys, make sure like, subscribe, do the things for JT. It's not like Xoge and our marketing budget is a thing. Like, that takes value from the ecosystem. I don't really do that. So JT is doing this for us, for the community and other people as a knowledge tool for free. So hope you appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, William. And we're out. See you guys next time.